Hello, my name is host Eric, and I'm here with debater Adeline, and we're going to be I wanted to talk to her, and I want to talk to everybody about the foundational ideas behind debate. It's not just people getting in arguments with each other, it's the story of human existence. So let's begin at the beginning. Behind us, we've got a couple of cave people, or early humans. You see, they have very simple things on their minds. They've got, brr, it's cold. They'd like to get a cave to stay in. They've got, damn, I'm hungry. I'd like to kill that antelope and eat it. And they've got, I want to have intercourse. Oh, look, there's a chick, there's a dude. Okay, well, great. So, all of this we're imagining is somehow in a time period where there's very little language in place, okay? There's just sort of grunts and stuff. But soon enough, these two find their cave and they've killed some antelopes and they've got a little baby person now. And then this is their cave. Suddenly, they've got some neighbors from down the way in a different cave. Two brothers. Now, these two brothers also have the same urges. But there's no chick. So they don't have any sort of, we can't see it. Our two brothers, they're there. It's because of caveman times, they don't have any sort of understanding of normative claims. So the two brothers go over there and say, well, let's just go have that chick. And they walk over there and they say, okay, we're going to have that chick now. And he's like, no, you're not. And she's like, no, you're not. And the baby's like, wah. Well, why not? Say the two brothers. Those are our urges. We want them. We want them fulfilled. Well, because we don't want you to do that. Well, we don't care if you want us to do that or not. Say the two brothers. Okay, then. Well, I've got some bad news for you, friends. I've got a club. And I will hit you with the club.
What does this have to do with the
You'll see, Adeline. I will hit you with the club if you try to take my woman. Until they go away. And she says, my hero.
No, she doesn't.
Fine. Well, what happens when homie there is out hunting one day and he's not standing there with the club? Well, he got another club and he left it for her. Well, now they each have clubs too. And he's not there. And what happens? Well, the point is, having a club is not a good way to determine who's right and who's wrong. Because anybody can get a club. And it doesn't matter if you're smarter or you have more cause to believe a claim or anything like that. If I hit you with a club enough, you'll either go along with what I'm saying or stop moving entirely. So that's one way to win an argument. Hitting people with clubs. And we still do that to this day. We win arguments with clubs when people are making, hopefully, unreasonable arguments themselves that involve clubs. So, In order to understand how we evolved in such a way as we no longer hit each other with clubs, we have to understand that there are 3 kinds of functions to language. First function we might call pull, get, in other words, question. B, push. Put. Command. Now, if the world were comprised of nothing but questions and commands, we would never have any debates. Nobody would ever be wrong. Everybody would always be correct. There would never be a single invalid argument made. Why, Addie? Because questions and commands don't have truth values. That's why. If I say, that's a large coffee cup, it's a statement. If I ask you, and you might say, no, it's not, it's a porcupine. You might say, no, that's a small coffee cup. You might say, no, that's an extra large coffee cup. You might say, yeah, it's a large coffee cup. You can agree and disagree in many different ways with the statement, that's a large coffee cup. If I ask you, is that a large coffee cup, can you disagree with me?
Yeah.
How? I haven't said anything.
Oh, wait, never mind.
Is that a large coffee cup? I disagree. With what? My question? You think it's a bad question to ask or what? Okay, how about if I give you a command? Like, drink from that large coffee cup.
No.
Can you disagree with me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You can disobey me. That's not the same as disagreeing.
Okay.
To disagree with me is to say, your statement is false. Your statement is not true.
Can I disagree with the validity of your command?
You can say, I will disobey your command. And here's a bunch of reasons why if you want. But first and foremost, my command is not asking you to affirm its validity. It's telling you to do something. If I say, Addie, close the door.
No.
That's a command, and it's telling you to close the door, obviously. You can say, no. You can say, F you, but you can't say, that's false, Eric. What's false? I just told you to close the door. It's not false. You may say that I have no cause to tell you that, to demand of you that thing, but I'm not telling a lie, am I? Am I lying to you when I say Addie, close the door?
No.
No, because it doesn't have a truth value. Statements, though, do have truth values. Statements, whereas this is pull, get, push, put, statements are about claiming and asserting. It is not possible to make a statement without claiming or asserting something. Okay? Can you think of one? Come up with a statement that doesn't claim or assert anything.
Define a statement. Is statement just like something you say that's not a question or a command? You.
That's not a statement, it's a word.
You said a statement was something that's not a question or a command. It's not a question or a command, therefore it must be a statement. You.
It's a grammatical package that's not a statement or a command. It's a comprehensible grammatical package that's not a statement or a command. It doesn't have to be a sentence per se, but it has to be a comprehensible grammatical package that's neither a question or a command.
Grammatical package?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to try to find a way around this, huh?
I already have.
All right, go ahead.
not only but also it's a grammatical package. There are 2, I think, conjunctions or something, and that's a grammatical package because.
All right, then fine, a sentence. Fine, it has to be a sentence. You're pushing my definitional boundaries back to the minimum, huh? Okay, go ahead. Give me a sentence then. Come up with a sentence that doesn't assert or claim anything.
That was fun. I don't think there's one that exists.
Yeah, there's not, because statements always claim or assert something. Okay?
Yeah, because it's gonna be an ad.
Now, what does it mean to say you claim or assert something? If I alright. Now, look, this is kind of silly distinction I'm making here. These things don't come with actual duties or rights, but I want to draw an analogy here. If you are to expect to get your desired outcome, what do you want as your desired outcome? You want an answer here, you want compliance here, and you want affirmation here, or change, impacts, okay? So, if you're asking a question and you expect to get an answer, your duty is to I guess you have to ask the right person and ask clearly. You have to be understood, basically. And what you can expect as a right is either the answer, an answer, or an explanation. The explanation as to why you can't answer it, right? This is what you expect. But there's no actual right here, okay? Because while I might expect you to answer my question, well, with one of these 3 things. If I say to you, Addie, what month were you born in?
Why did I tell you?
Okay. So you've given me another question, right? I've asked you a question. You've answered my question with a question. But what I'm saying is normally, under normal circumstances, I'm asking a normal question that you don't have a reason to fight against the existence of it. Well, even if you do, right? Instead of answering with a question, you're going to say, I'm not going to tell you because, or simply, I'm not going to tell you.
I have no problems to tell you.
Right, okay. So in this case, you couldn't give me an answer. You could only give me the answer or an explanation. What month were you born in? Just choose one.
Not telling you.
Okay, fine. So that's an explanation. You didn't give me the answer. It's not possible to give me an answer because there's only one right answer. It's binary. It's a binary claim, okay?
No, and answer, it doesn't technically have to be the right answer. I could tell you January, and it's not my actual the month of my birthday, but it's
Okay.
still an answer to your question.
There's another one. You could intentionally deceive.
Yes. Yes, I do that all the time.
Now look, intentional deception is a different matter than these other things. It's not, but this is just going to confuse. There's obviously not rights and duties. That analogy is dumb. So this is the type of thing. This is if you do, which is you should get.
Unless the person either did not hear you or chooses to ignore you on purpose.
Well, that's why you have to ask clearly and ask the right person. So for the command, if you tell the right person, and
they are willing to do it,
you tell them clearly, and you have there's no inherency problems, no barriers, right? So it could be a hierarchy thing, like, you know, if you just got hired into the company and you walk into the president's office and say, hey, Mr. Stevens, give me a cup of coffee. And Mr. Stevens is going to say, why are you commanding me to get you a cup of coffee? And the person will say, because I want one. And he'll say, well, you're telling the wrong person, first of all, because I'm the company's president and you just got hired. And you are telling me clearly, but there's definitely a barrier here, which is you have no reason to expect me to obey your command. And in fact, you are doomed to experience disobedience from me. If you do tell the right person, tell clearly, and there are no barriers, so you should expect to get compliance, obedience.
unless of course that person is me.
Well, I mean, then you told the wrong person.
What?
That's why I put that there. Okay, so these things are fine. These are behavioral expectations that you can expect to get, right? I'm expecting the person to behave in the following fashion. But note, these are, in this one, it's the expectations of the person making the question, making the command, the expectations of the other person. On this one, it's the opposite. You should expect yourself. And others should expect you to meet your burden. Any claim you make, it comes with a burden. We, for the sake of efficiency, excuse each other to the requirement to meet that burden 99% of the time. So I don't challenge every sentence you say, Addie. If you're like, oh, I went to McDonald's today, I don't say, well, I don't think you've met your burden of proof. You haven't met your burden, Addie. We're going to have to assume you didn't go to McDonald's for lunch today. No. In situations like that, I'm not going to call upon you to meet your burden. Why? Number one, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares what you ate lunch? Number two, there's no reason. We default to assuming people are telling the truth if they're making perfectly normal, average workaday claims. If I were to say to you, oh, I went to Paris, France for lunch today and came back. I left this morning about 11 a.m. and I made it back in time for class. Then I would say, you failed to meet.
Private jet or something?
I'm not going, it's not a gimme, right? For a lot of statements, we just say, don't worry about it. You don't need to meet your burden. It's a gimme. When you say, oh, I took a shower right before I came in here today, which I did. You're not saying, well, do you have any evidence of that? Any eyewitnesses? You're going to just say, well, I assume you're telling the truth. There's no reason to lie about it. And to function in a nice society, we have to basically assume most people are telling the truth unless there's a reason not to. Okay, so what do you get a chance to do if you make a claim? You should always be afforded the chance to respond to ATs. So yeah, you have to meet your burden, and yeah, they get a chance to respond to that, but once they choose to respond to it, they're engaging in that argumentation chain. And so they should then it should be obligatory for them to hear and respond to your answers to their answers to as well. And ongoing for a certain period of time. It's not exactly sure how many turns there needs to be before it's fair, but normally, like I said, most claims are not in dispute. Okay, so now that we understand the difference between claims, statements, and commands, let's talk about a little bit more about burdens, fiat, inherency, means, and ends, and solvency. Okay, so well, let's start with inherency. Inherency, advocacy. Actually, let's put advocacy on top. Inherency. Let's talk about fiat, solvency, and reciprocity. Okay. Always remember this when you're thinking about anything debate related. Always remember the issue of reciprocity, because underlying it all is reciprocity. The notion that if you get to do something, I should get to do it too. So if, in fact, now we go back to the story of the brothers, the two evil brothers. So they had their way with that dude's woman, right? But then, a little while later, some other chicks moved into town, and they each got their own woman. They started their own cave. And then a pack of 6 brothers came. And they went and they stole the brother's woman, just like the brothers had stolen the first guy's woman. So, and then of course the women in the story are subjected to awful violence. The point of this is reciprocity. You reap what you sow in life, Adeline. You reap what you sow. So don't plant a field full of aggression, right? If you plant your field with aggression, Adeline, what will happen to you?
You become like my brother. Okay.
You will be subject to aggression. In other words, we go back to the cave people. Okay, so those 2 brothers over here, the bros, who are over here somewhere, they raped her. He said, that's bad, you can't do that. She said, that's bad, you can't do that, but they did it anyway, right? Now, a little bit later, the brothers have their own women, and remember that baby here? Well, the baby's grown up now. Baby's a strapping young man. And he goes, first he rapes this brother's woman, then he rapes that brother's woman. And then he goes back home. Hi mom, hi dad, done raping, back home. Okay, the brothers come home and they hear the story of what happened from their respective women. And they march over here and they say, you're dead, Theo. This is Theo. Theo, the raping caveman son. You're dead, Theo. You raped our women. And he's like, well, but you raped my woman. So first let me kill you and then you guys can kill him. Because fair is fair. And they go, no, that's different. Why is it different? Because those were our women and that's your woman. Well, Theo, did it feel like it was different to you? No, sir, Pop. I felt it was exactly the same. Okay, so the brothers have just learned the hard-learned lesson of reciprocity. They have been subjected to the reciprocal burdens test. Well, if it was okay for you to rape my wife, it's okay for us to rape yours. That's the reciprocal burdens test. This is why we want fundamentally to eliminate, we want to destroy might makes right. The world I just described with the rapey cavemen is a world prior to civilizing, in fact, the civilizing influence of ethical understanding. And that world is called might makes right. That when people said, hey, you can't do that, nobody had an answer. When they said, well, why can't I do that? Nobody had an answer. Well, because I have a bigger club was the only answer. You can't do that because I have a bigger club. Well, now I have a bigger club. Can I do that? Well, you will. You did. Okay, well, good. I did. I proved it. That's right now. Because it's okay for me to do that because I'm the strongest. Okay, but now I'm stronger today. I've got even a bigger club. So I'm going to smash all of your stuff and break your legs and kill all your family. There. That's right. Correct? I did the right thing because I'm the strongest. That's the correct thing to do, right? Well, we went through like 1,000 years of that, or 2,000, or 10,000. I don't know how many years of that crap we went through. Humanity had a long, hard slog in figuring out that having a bigger club was not a good way to live together. That if we want to get along with each other, we can't base it just on the biggest club. So, after we get into this issue of advocacy, this is step 2. Step 1 of the whole process of civilizing humanity is reciprocity, the concept of it, the bad part of reciprocity. You know, if you rape my cave woman, I'll rape yours. That kind of bad reciprocity. And the good kind of reciprocity, where you say, oh, well, you're my child, so I'm going to protect you, right? Theo, I'm going to protect you when the brothers come try to get you. Is that good? Well, I mean, it's not good that Theo got away with his crimes, but it's good for Theo, and it's good for Theo's dad, maybe. So, inherency and advocacy come into play. But let's talk about advocacy first. At some point, someone says, hey, I got an idea. Let's make a rule. It's called Onan Women.
You don't own women's jobs.
I'm not saying it's a good rule. I'm saying it's the first rule. This was the first rule people made back when they had farming. Finally, farming came around. You know, a little bit of farming, a little bit of hunter-gatherer stuff. And so the cavemen got together and said, look, Bob, you raped my wife last night, and Steve raped her the night before. Now, okay, I admit, I raped Steve's wife last week, but that was last week. Now, guys, we got to stop doing this because some of us really don't like it. We don't want to share our woman. So, look, let's make a deal. From now on, once you had a woman for like, let's say 3 months, then she's your woman, and no other caveman is gonna rape her at all, not even a little bit, okay? And if you do, then we chop off your arm, right? If you steal my woman, it's theft. See, it's a property rights issue. If you steal my woman and use her, then you either have to pay me 30 antelopes or I chop off your arm. And, Theo says, whoa, Dad, let's not go crazy here. You're telling me I can't rape any of the women around here, except for the one that I keep in the cave. That's what you're telling me. Look, Theo, you can get more than one and keep them in your cave if you want, but yeah, I'm telling you, if Bob's woman, he doesn't want you raping his woman, then you need to stop it. Now, look, we'll figure out a way to get more women. I tell you what, why don't we go take over those cave people over there, kill all those men, and bring their women back here, and you can have like 4 of them, okay? But they're your 4, and don't mess with Bob's 4, okay? Is everybody in agreement? All you gotta do is show a little bit of self-control here, people. Nobody needs to pay any antelopes, and nobody needs to have their arms chopped off. Just stop raping each other's women. All right, grumble. Okay, fine. Let's take a vote. Yep, we agree. Hooray! Now we finally have peace and freedom for everyone. Except for half the population, of course. Right? Because even though they started making rules, they were still fundamentally under the guise or under the prevailing influence of might makes right. The chicks were weaker, so they were wrong. And the dudes had the clubs, and the dudes were like, this is a big club, I'm strong, and I can totally hit that other guy with this club. And the chicks were like, how many thousands of years is it going to take for us to get past this shit? And then the cavemen were like, at least 4,000 or 5,000. And then
I can take a club. Right. I can hit someone with a club.
You can, that's true.
I can hit someone with a club just as good as anybody else.
All right, but imagine if you didn't have any. It was just you with a club, and you went out of your cave, and you didn't have a cave boyfriend, you didn't have a cave husband, you were a single cave woman, out carrying your own club to protect yourself. Now note, the cavemen don't have to go around carrying clubs to protect themselves from being raped, right? They might have to protect themselves from other things, but not that, probably.
And you be smart, and you get a rock, and you make it pointy, so it becomes a knife.
Okay, but anyway, the point is, Addie, so you're walking around the club, and the first day, one caveman tries to rape you, and you successfully win that fight. You beat him with the club. And the next day you see him, and he's all limping around. And
Just you make a knife, and then you kill.
Oh, you're going to kill them? Okay, well, you kill that caveman. Now, they have another meeting. Oh my God, that unowned woman killed one of our cavemen. What are we going to do to her? And the ladies in the cave community go, well, do we get a say in this matter? And the cavemen go, what's that noise over there? It's kind of high-pitched. That's how it went. It's might makes right. Is that okay? Should it be like that?
No.
No, okay. Well, so advocacy began as a way of protecting one's own interests, not as a way of pursuing community goods, except insofar as the community goods were defined by those in power, namely the boss cave people. So at a certain point, maybe like ancient Greece or something, we're moving ahead, we're out of the caveman times now. They've been making rules for a while, and they developed some rudimentary parliamentary protocols. Parley protocols. So it turns out this rule-making process was more divisive, perhaps, than they had anticipated. People couldn't agree on which rules to make. Everybody wanted to make rules for what they cared about. So, Addie, pay attention for like 10 more minutes, because we'll take a break then. So, okay, everybody cared about their issue. So if I'm the caveman who,
I thought we were out of the caveman.
I'm sorry, you're right, we are. If I'm the ancient Greek, that's where we are, ancient Greek. If I'm the ancient Greek who makes togas, I want to pass a rule that says only I get to make togas.
Trust.
What?
Togas are Roman.
Well, what the fuck do they wear on Greek time then? Greek togas.
I can't pronounce it, but I can write it on the board.
They're called grogas.
No,
it's a
not.
Greek toga. Go ahead, write it on the board.
The girls' versions are called
grogas. Chittos. Chitons.
I forgot the guys' version, but it's not called a toga. Toga is a Roman.
Okay. So, my fellow ancient Greeks, my name is Chitonocles. I am the ancient Greek maker of chitons for all the ladies here in ancient Greece. Yeah, very, very fashionable chitons for you. Anyway, as you guys know, other ancient Greek men here in the assembly, you guys know my family, we've been making chitons for like 2 generations already now. And I don't think it's right. I saw this, Mr. Copymeacles over there. He tried to make his own chitons and selling them. And I said, hey, that's my idea. I'm the only one who makes those. So let's pass a rule. Anybody else want to make it, they got to pay me 40 drukas.
And that's how copyrights were invented.
That's right. That's how the ancient Greeks invented copyright. It was all over the guild control of the chiton. And in fact, many of these rules in life that we've come to deal with are all protectionist rules. So they're about helping people who currently have positions of, or who have avenues of, who have successfully defined avenues. So I mean, anytime you're doing something in life, if you're doing it of your own free will, you're trying to convert your time into value in some capacity or another. If, for example, you're watching a television show you like or something like that, is there something you like to watch on Netflix, Addie?
I watch anime.
Okay, what kind of anime? Which anime do you watch?
That's a long list.
Poop in a bucket and hand it to Susie? Poop in a bucket and hand it to Susie is one of the strangest of all the Japanese animation. I think if you're into anime, if you're really a serious anime fan, you probably have a massive poster on your wall that says, poop in a bucket and hand it to Susie.
I'm not a massive anime fan. I watch it a lot, though.
Are you telling me you're not familiar with that classic series, Poop in a Bucket and Hand It to Susie?
No, but I am familiar with Atsuki no Yona, The Coming to Kill, Attack on Titan, SAO, Blue Exorcist.
Okay, well listen, let me tell you about the one true Japanese animation. So okay, it's the story of a young ninja girl, and she's named like Marilyn or something, I forget. And anyway, so she poops in a bucket, and then she goes and she finds this other girl, her name is Susie, and she says, "Here, I got this for you." It's an allegory. It's got a lot of deep meaning to it. It's the masterwork of Suzuki Mokasashi. The masterwork of Suzuki Mosasaki is an anime miniseries known as Poop in a Bucket and Hand It to Susie. It's very well named. If you look at the summary on Netflix, it says Marilyn poops in a bucket and hands it to Susie. It's the best anime ever. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about, though. Okay, parley procedures, right. So anyway, they come up with all these procedures to hopefully, ideally, let everybody have a chance to talk. And the ancient Greeks determined that the way to figure out what the right course of action is to engage in rhetoric, rhetorical exchange, to use language to break apart the ideas so that you can identify the ones that have holes in them, right? So if we go back to the story of Marilyn and Susie. Now, Marilyn had 5 buckets, but she only had 1 poop in her. So she looked at each of the buckets. 4 of the buckets had holes in them. She threw those buckets away. She retained the 1 good bucket, pooped in that, and that was the bucket of poop she handed to Susie. So the moral of this story is argumentation is the same way. If you've got 5 different arguments on the table, and they conflict with each other, then they can't all be correct. Find the ones with the holes, throw them away, and poop in the bucket that's left over.